It really is great to come together today to celebrate the future of power in Grand Isle and to commemorate a significant milestone here with everyone. The completion of this substation is such a proud moment for Entergy, and we're so glad to share that with everyone here. We're grateful for the presence of several of the local and elected officials and community leaders who have consistently supported us on this journey. We're grateful for Commissioner Eric Skrmetta being here with us today. I'm told Chief Justice John Houma is also either here today or trying to be here today, so we appreciate that as well. All the unwavering commitment to the growth and betterment of Grand Isle has been invaluable, and Entergy is certainly glad to be a part of that and glad to have you all here with us today. We know that we can't do a complete roll call, but we do want to acknowledge a few public officials who are here today. Public Service Commissioner Eric Skrmetta, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you being here. Some of our legislators, State Senator Patrick Connick is here with us today. Representative Joe Ogeron, we thank y'all for being here and saying a few words as well today. From Jefferson Parish, we appreciate Cynthia Lee Shang, Parish President. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate that. Council members Ricky Templett, Marion Edwards, Scott Walker, Dino Bonanno, Byron Lee, Dominic Impastato, and Jennifer Rankin. We appreciate all of you all for your efforts here. From the town of Grand Isle, David Carmerdale, the mayor, we appreciate everything you do. We know that you are one of the best spokespeople ever for an area. We know that you take it seriously, and we always answer when you call because you mean business for this place, and we appreciate that. Council members Melissa Pisani, Kelly Besson, Lan Tivet, Brian Bartholomew, Elgin Gary, and Chief Scooter Resweber. We appreciate you being here, and I apologize if I messed up any of those names. The folks who are here from the Greater Lafourche Port Commission, all the commissioners who took the time to be here. I know that includes Chucky Sheremy, Reggie Leday, Mike Calais, Ronnie Gisclair. I know we had a few that could not be here with us today. Thank you, Thomas Pete, for being here. And I think we didn't have Jimmy LaFont. I don't think we had John Malonsaw, Larry Griffin, or Chris Calais, but they all sent their regards, I believe, as well. And also, Chet, thanks for being here. I saw Chet Chasson somewhere around here, the executive director. Thank you so much for all your efforts. And also, I don't believe Archie Chasson was able to be here with us today, but has also, been very helpful. The Bayou Community Foundation has a presence here today, and we thank you for being here. To the Jefferson Chamber of Commerce, the Lafourche Chamber of Commerce, and the Bayou region, we appreciate that. And also Grand Isle Port Commissioners and members of the various levee districts. That's a whole lot of folks. I hope I did not miss anybody. There's always a danger for that, but thank you all for being here today with us. We're excited to have Philip May here with us today. He's the president and CEO of Entergy Louisiana. He's going to tell us more about the new substation and what it took to get to this point. I don't want to steal any of his thunder, but I can tell you it was not an easy feat, and Philip has been there to guide it through a lot of the process, through all of the process, I should say. So thanks for being here with us, Philip.
Thank you, Jody, and thank you all for being here. I know the real party starts tomorrow. I appreciate y'all coming a little early to show up for this, so at least you'll get a jump on the fish, right? Look, we know every day you depend on reliable power to keep our local economies humming, and we take that responsibility very seriously. We know that through storms and weather events, they're becoming more frequent, more severe, as we saw with Ida, and so we need to rethink how we do our grid. Following Ida, we didn't just repair the damage that was left behind. We rethought the way we served this island. In fact, all of Louisiana with resilience in mind. The completion of this substation behind me, Carmenada Substation, is a testament that what can be done when we all work together. More on that in a moment, but I do want to recognize a couple of folks from my team. You met Jody and Michelle. We also have with me Laura Beecham. She is our Director of Resource Planning. We all have a role in helping to make this happen. Also want to recognize our power delivery and capital projects organizations and contract partners. They were truly the boots on the ground making this happen. They had to reimagine how we would serve this island. We rebuilt a lot of this right after Zeta, and Ada came along, and we didn't want that to happen again. So we had to rethink that, and they did a fantastic job with that. With us today, representing some of our contract partners include Dash Shield and Dacon. They did engineering, procurement, steel, and electrical construction. Around here somewhere. There we go. Cajun Industries, foundation work and chain wall installation. As you can see, it's fairly robust. R.R. Cassidy, testing and commissioning. PFES for construction oversight. We also had LP Landry and Sons for final site work and logistics. Richard Bond, construction for the initial site work. Diamond D Industries for the laydown and the yard prep. LMS Property and laydown yard acquisition. Contact Kenner chain wall for the chain walls that we use, and then Distran package substations, pre-assembled substation, modular substation. This is the first time we have used a pre-packaged modular substation, so it represents sort of that rethinking how we go about serving this island. Their dedication and hard work certainly have not gone unnoticed. Let us give them a quick round of applause and thank them for their work. You know, Ida's historic winds took down utility poles and electric equipment, caused significant damage to the prior Kamanaba sub. To get power back onto the island quickly, we provided generators and began to build temporary substation near the bend of Highway 1 upon reaching the island. This allowed us to provide temporary power for initial service to get the economy going again, while we had an opportunity to rethink how we would go about rebuilding this in a way that would be more resilient, more robust, so that Grand Isle can have a more robust, resilient infrastructure. I want to thank the town of Grand Isle, Mayor Commerdale, for helping with that and partnering with us all along the way, including providing us access to land where the temporary substation was built, so we had the opportunity to rethink how we do this grid. The new Camanaba substation was brought online this summer. It's an elevation of 20 feet. It's the highest elevated substation from the ground that we have in Louisiana. All the electric equipment for the substation, like the transformers, control houses, was placed on top of that concrete platform, away from the risk from flooding and so forth. The platform itself is very robust, made of 2 layers of chain walls. Not only is the platform itself strong, but the foundation, over 350 50-foot piles support that platform and substation steel. The cabinets and house are stainless steel to help with corrosion, all designed to reduce the effect of weather, environmental conditions that are unique to this coastal environment. To account for soil conditions, we installed very large utility poles in the area and placed them into steel columns called caissons. You may have seen some of those as you drove in. The caissons were actually piped from the canceled Keystone pipeline. So we carved those up and then vibrated them into the ground, and then those Class 1 poles, which are some of the strongest poles that are available, were then placed into those pipes and backfilled with rock to create a really strong foundation for those poles. It really is a different approach and a different way of thinking about how we serve this island. We didn't just come back with stronger equipment, we came back with a stronger design. You may have noticed we shortened the distance between that the wire has to go between those poles. That means that has less effect the wind, because the wind is really pulling on that wire as the wind's blowing. Installed lighter transformers, used tighter framing and equipment on top of the poles to reduce the effect of high winds on the system, because ultimately that's what causes that pole to fail, is what's on top of the pole. We also moved portions of the systems out of the marsh closer to land to make it more accessible to our crews and to speed up restoration when we have to do that in the future. In addition, we diversified the local distribution system by undergrounding 8 miles of cable to provide redundancy to Grand Isle. It's the longest underground project our company has undertaken. All this work was done not only to make our grid more resilient, to make our communities more resilient. You know, we've heard the term resilient a lot lately. Resilience, for us, it's crucial to our future in Louisiana. You know, it seems to us that we're in a cycle, or we're having a situation where we're seeing more frequent, more intense storms. We have to plan for that. That's why we filed a 10-year resilience plan called Energy Future Ready with the body that regulates this, Louisiana Public Service Commission. That resilience plan is intended to be implemented over 10 years, and is a proposal that allows us to do the things like we did here in Grand Isle throughout the rest of the state. So its economy can be more resilient. Our communities can be more resilient. Look, we aren't able to build a system that the lights won't go out. This is really about having a system where instead of it taking weeks to get the power back on, we can get the power back on in days. So you think about what that means for our businesses. You think about what that means for our communities. And, you know, we serve a lot of low-income customers. They don't have the luxury of being able to escape and evacuate for a week or more at a time. Ideally, we would have a system where we can hunker down for a few days, make those basic things available, pharmacies, foods, and so forth available, so the economy can get back up again when we get those lights on in days instead of weeks. That's what the resilient plan is about. This is what this new substation, represents to me. It's not only a future of power in Grand Isle, it really is the future of power in Louisiana. It's how we're rethinking how we power the grid. It also signals more reliable power, a more resilient grid, but a stronger and more resilient communities. And after all, that is what is important for us. Thank you all for joining us as we mark this memorable milestone. At this time, I'm going to welcome Jody back to the stage to continue the program. Jody?
At this time, we're going to invite a few elected officials to come and speak to everyone, certainly some of our partners throughout this process before and after. The first one up is Louisiana Public Service Commissioner Eric Scrametta, who represents District 1, which of course includes Jefferson Parish and Grand Isle. The commissioner's been a regulator who has truly taken the time to understand our industry. He constantly challenges us to rethink things, to try to do better, and you know, to benefit the ratepayers, which are constantly on his mind. I think the substation is an example of that, and we're glad he took the time to be here with us today. So, Commissioner, if you come for just a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank y'all for letting me come here and visit with you today. Want to start by talking about Mayor Carmardell. You know, this is my 15th year as Public Service Commissioner, and when I started, it really began engaging with Mayor Carmardell on the issues of Grand Isle and where we could be. And ever since then, he will tell you that he could call me at any time and we'd talk about how we could solve the problems of Grand Isle. And this is the culmination of a series of fixes, repairs, and what has brought us to how we deal with resiliency. And resiliency to me is about how we bounce back from disaster. And that's what it's about. And what, like Philip said, you know, when I first came on, we had, you know, days and weeks of recovery, and we are now down to just a few days of recovery. Even in the most affecting disasters, we have managed to pull ourselves together with the improvements we've made, with the requirements we have put on utilities, and with the changes we have worked with them to accomplish to bring back power to our communities and to our economy in literally days versus weeks. And we're going to continue to improve on that. We are working on other issues for the state of Louisiana, and particularly in Jefferson Parish. We are working with Entergy to create a power through program right now, which is to create effectively a new 120 megawatt power plant, but it's broken in little pieces spread across Jefferson Parish, and working with various customers who want to host small power plants that will be part of a web that will provide extra power during peak that will be needed in the grid, but when we do have a disaster, their facility will be fully powered, provide services to the community. And it's been approved by the Commission, and we are moving forward with that. Several companies are already engaged in this, and the good news about this program is a 120 megawatt power plant that would normally cost X dollars is going to cost about 40 to 50% less money for the ratepayers, because these hosts are going to be paying for these generation systems. And it's a movement that we're going forward with to improve the quality of service and the rates for the ratepayers. One of the other elements that we're going to be working on, and I'm going to be working on particularly, is we move forward to say how we're going to pay for damages after storms. After Hurricane Ida, and actually before that, we had 7 hurricanes and an ice storm that was greatly damaging to the state and its economy. And we could not get relief from the federal government regarding transmission costs. The Stafford Act, which is the funding act for FEMA, will not provide relief to investor-owned utilities. It will provide relief to cooperatives, which are, in my opinion, they are also small corporations and they have benefits. We need to change these rules, and we need to find a way to change these rules, because they did so for corporations in the Northeast after Hurricane Sandy, and investor-owned utilities got relief from the federal government. That provides lower costs back to their consumers in the storm recovery costs. I am working on a plan that I will submit to the federal government for a transmission trust, which will provide a mechanism similar to flood insurance, but it will be spread across the entire country versus flood areas, which will provide a mechanism for transmission owners to be able to find recovery from that fund, so they won't have to go to the ratepayers to get all of the resources recovered from that source. And I'm starting to see a understanding of that from our federal delegation, as well as delegations from other states. I want to tell you that we've had hard times in this state. We've worked very hard to keep our position where we are, but for last year's bloom in energy costs and the excess of gas prices, Louisiana still enjoys the lowest electricity utility rates in the country, and we are very other states are very jealous of us, and it's because of the mechanisms we have developed to insist that utility companies maintain standards, maintain the quality of service, and maintain where we provide for the consumer. Consumers want to go to their light switch and have the power go on. They want to get their bill at the end of the month and have it be as low as possible. And that's our goal, to work with the companies to make sure they're healthy, but at the end of the day, we're going to make sure that they are profitable, but not at the expense of the consumer. So we balance those interests, and that's the goal of the commission. So we're going to work to continue to improve the resilience of the system. Grand Isle is one of those facilities, or one of these towns, that is right on the coast. It's going to be first to be hit, and it's going to catch the most powers of winds that is going to move forward. And we're going to make sure that this is the test. We are going to work backwards from here and improve resilience and the ability to bounce back as we move through the state. So I want to congratulate Entergy on listening to the concerns of the commission, and not all commissioners were really in favor of this, but the ones who did join in this and cause this to happen are going to be content and happy that, the solution has taken place, and mighty oaks from little acorns grow, and we hope that it will continue to be fruitful and we'll get better things made for the public. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next we have Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang. We're glad that she took the time to be here. We know what a large parish Jefferson Parish is and how busy the role is. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jody. When I woke up this morning, I knew we were coming here for the Grand Isle Council meeting, but I didn't know how emotional I would get today. We're almost 2 years away from Ida. And Mayor Carmodell, whenever I'm in your presence on Grand Isle, I feel it in my heart. I probably was one of the last calls that you took before the storm took out all communication. And I remember asking you, we were trying to get as many people off the island as possible, and I remember asking you, how many people do you think are still on the island? And you said maybe about 40 or 50. So in those next hours, all I could think about was the people stuck on the island, and you're looking at the news reports, and I got all these screens in front of my face, and I'm like, how are those people going to survive? How are we not going to have, 40, 50 dead people on the island? But they did, thank God. And then I was one of the first to come back to the island who wasn't here with the helicopter, with the governor offered me a ride on the helicopter. And I'll say, the Entergy lines here are probably very symbolic, because of course there was devastation everywhere, but when you're driving down the street, and you could still see parts of the street, the Entergy poles were broken in half, ripped, the metal around it all in a curve when they're not supposed to be curved, pole after pole after pole after pole down the street. It was a very visual image of absolute Mother Nature wreaking its havoc on the island, as well as all the missing houses and debris behind it. And I kept coming to the island, and a couple weeks later I came back, and the Entergy poles were all upright and straight and neat and orderly. And it might have been the first time where I took a breath and said, okay, we're going to do this. The island's coming back. And we're going to come back even stronger, because the island is worth fighting for. So I think those polls and your investment and you know, initially saying we're going to be resilient, we all felt that way. We're working on water infrastructure, we're working on breakwaters, we just, beautiful new library. I mean, it took maybe a year ago, I was the president of the Tarpa Rodeo, we were still trying to get everyday life like settled, and now I see it's the 2-year mark where we can kind of celebrate newer and stronger and better. So thank you for your work. Patrick, you're so wonderful with us in the emergency operations room. Constituents, you know, having their energy back on is one of the first indicators of when they're going to choose to come back. And the fact that you're there with us, open, transparent, giving people the best information that you can. You all taking that stance with us in the public is very, very key when the public needs their trust to make these big decisions. You're there by our side all the time. You know, your staff that's sitting there with us is very key to us in emergency operations. So I'm honored to be here with you today to celebrate this day. Thank you so much, and thank you for partnering with us on Grand Isle. The council members, you know, Mayor, this is your life. You're here every day fighting the fight. I know it's a big day, an important day for you too. So on behalf of all of us, thank you very much.
Next, we have Grand Isle Mayor David Carmardell, who I think is a spokesperson, a cheerleader. I mean, he's everything for this area, I think. When you see him, first time I met him, I was working in the governor's office, and he came right up to me and said, what is the governor's office going to do for this on Grand Isle and that on Grand Isle? So it's a pleasure to have him here joining us, obviously, today. It wouldn't be a day without him, so thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited today. I just got about $200 more million from the parish. It looked like I did $200 million with electricity. So the bottom line is, on behalf of my council, I see Brian Bartholomew here. I see Melissa. And like I said, we're working with all the councilmen since I've been elected and the chief of police and all that. It was always a little disaster here at the Grand Isle. But the bottom line is, today I'm telling you, I can remember in 1958, 59, Mr. Arthur Ballinger talking about electricity. It was always the power lines coming from Leeville to Grand Isle and the marsh. And Mr. Eric Scametta, when I got involved with him, I said, we got to get it out the marsh. We got to get it on the side of the road. We got to do something. So in the meantime, every time electricity went off, it took a while through the years to get electricity. But after looking at all the diagrams and working together all through the storms, we put our heads together and said, one day it's going to get away from the marsh. And Mr. Phillip, I want to tell you thank you. I know we had many meetings. And then Eric, I know I called you. Now I don't have to call you no more, I don't believe, so far. But I stayed on top of Mr. Eric because, you know, down here, you know, we got businesses trying to have no generators or whatever, and no electricity. And we were raised that way with no water. But now, today is a proud day to tell you that, born and raised on this island, working through Lafourche Parish, Jefferson Parish, all the parishes. And I'm so excited we got Keystone Pipe. Maybe if Trump gets back in, he might want the pipes to come back and drill. But I want to thank these guys here, right here, Joe Ogeron, Pat Connick, and Ricky Templet, and Cynthia, and all the parish officials. Every time I call these guys, and working closely with Lafourche Parish, St. Charles, all the parishes, our little levee board, I see Kelly's here on the levee board, I see Mr. Weldon, Danos with the Port Commission. I mean, we used to living like this, but I'm proud to tell you that it's a big, big change in our lives. You heard me earlier today, we're trying to get housing back, put more electricity, meaning to the houses, but I'm honored to tell you that I think we can sleep a little better now because everything looks stronger and the test is on Grand Isle. As long as we put some more rocks to protect ourselves, I think we're gonna be all right. I need about 58 million, told President Biden to finish it, and we're gonna get it. So again, on behalf of all elected officials and the residents of Grand Isle, and you, the people we love that come, the last 3 weekends, it was wonderful. The Grand Isle Rodeo started today, tomorrow, and we expected a big crowd. And we got a local boy that's gonna be the president, and we got a local girl, Brian Bartholomew, Dana's daughter. She's the queen, and again, come welcome to Grand Isle. Let's enjoy Grand Isle. As long as there's one grain of sand to plant the American flag, we ain't going nowhere. Thank you.
Next, we have someone that I've known for a long time as well. Councilman Ricky Templet has been also a huge advocate, both when he was in the legislature and now. for Jefferson Parish and Grand Isle certainly as well. He's one of those calls you better make sure you take, because he calls when he's serious, but he also calls when it's a compliment and when we've done something well. So thank you for taking the time to be here. We know you're very busy, Councilman.
Thank you so much, and we've enjoyed our time in Baton Rouge together as well. Look, first of all, I want to say David's happy of getting some funds today, but tomorrow he'll be asking for some more dollars, and we all know that. So we know it's coming, David. You know, all of us have lived through many storms and many issues, and one of the words we learned a lot of over the years is resiliency. And this last storm, what was the key word, Dave, we always had? Hardening the system. Okay, so that was some new key words that we've learned. You know, I've lived through trying to help and protect Grand Isle and Jefferson Parish and the coastline here through Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, Isaac, and now Ida. And I have to say, I'm very proud to be able to stand up here and say that Entergy is truly a partner with Jefferson Parish with what they've done here today. You're talking about over a $20 million investment just with this new state-of-the-art prototype of a substation, which is incredible. Over $100 million invested here in Grand Isle, trying to harden the system and protect the families that are living here and the businesses. That is unheard of. And I want to say thank you to Entergy for actually not just being a partner, but a friend to our community. There's times during storms that you get the brunt of all of our calls, the public's calls, Eric Scametta's calls, wanting to know where the hell is our power? How long is it going to take? What you've done here today and the ribbon cutting we're doing today, hopefully is going to shorten that period of time that we have downtime, because we will, but it's important to shorten that and be more resilient and be more hardened. So we've taken steps across the whole parish to harden our system, but right now this is one of the most important steps that are being taken, and we want to say personally thank you for all your assistance in making Jefferson Parish a better place to live, work, and play. And thank you.
Next we have State Senator Patrick Connick, who's here with us today. We appreciate you being here. I'll tell you something, as a lobbyist, when you're about to go testify in front of a Senate committee, when a senator pulls you aside and says, hey, Mayor Cormerdale just called me. I don't want to have to ask you this on a microphone, so can you work on this? You pretty much say yes. So Pat's always got the interest of this place in mind, I know, and that's a real story, so thank you for being here with us today.
Thank y'all. It's hot. Not much else to say, but Mr. May, thank you. Eric, thank you. David, thank you for your big heart for this island. Without you and without your leadership, we wouldn't be here today. Thank y'all.
And finally, we have Representative Joe Ogeron, newer to the legislature, but quick in understanding this industry, and we appreciate you being here as well.
I'll try to be equally quick, but I got to thank Entergy and Philip Mee for all the hardening, the resiliency, the going on the ground. Been asked so many times why it hasn't been done, and saying it's a factor of 10 or a factor of 8 in costs. But now it's done along with the roadside hardening of the rocks. Excellent job. And as far as investment, I mean, whenever you're rebuilding a camp, you know, you like I am, you decide if they're going to invest this much with the poles and the substations, you go with the best you can. You really, the resiliency doesn't stop here. It trickles down to everybody else's investment in the island. So, taking care of the coastal jewel of Jefferson, thank you all very much for coming. Let's wrap this up.
I forgot to tell you this, but there's two people I like to recognize that I dealt with all the time the electricity went through. And this poor girl, Paula, represents Grand Isle, the Fuchs Parish. Stand up, Paula. When the electricity went off, this young lady took care of it, so Paula, thanks a lot. There's a young man in the crowd that first came in my office. I said, oh, he's from Texas. I don't know about this guy. But this guy came through, and he made friends with us in the office. He said, I'm here to help your community. I said, oh, here's another guy, a salesman. But in the meantime, in my heart, I want to give a special hand to Richard. My guy Richard, still here today, does a great job. And then he worked with a contractor like Lane Landry. He worked with the local people here, with Kelly, all of us. So thank you so much. And you can't imagine, he called me 6 o'clock in the morning this morning, make sure everything's all right. So again, we love you guys and thank you all for everything y'all do. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Carlos. Got 1, 2, 3.
1,
2, 3.